Hello everybody, this is Kyra back with another My Porch Prints tutorial. Today we are finishing up our Jane Austen series by going ahead and sewing in our signatures and then decorating the cover. So to get started, we're going to be taking those freebies that I printed on a couple of pieces of canvas paper, and then I went ahead and sewed them together right in the middle with a couple of stitches, just to kind of hold them together and hold them in place. And if you don't have canvas paper, you could just use a spare piece of fabric or something similar. I liked the canvas paper though, just because it was a little bit thicker, stiffer, and sturdier. And then next I will be using a hidden spine template that we have available in our shop. And taking a red Sharpie, I'm going to be marking my own sort of holes for the signatures because I only have 3 of them instead of 4. So just making my own there. And then going ahead and poking holes in everything using a spare piece of cardboard behind it so I don't accidentally stab through the table. And make sure that you remove your piece of cardboard from before because we don't need to stab any holes through that. It's just going to be sort of a supportive backing for the spine itself. And I believe this is the 2-inch spine, not the 3-inch spine, but you can use whichever one works best for you. And then taking that sort of canvas paper base, we're going to be sort of placing it exactly where we want it, and then clipping down our template and going ahead and making a couple more holes. And this one was a little bit slower going. The canvas paper was a little bit harder to poke through, but it ended up working out fine in the end. Just like that. And you can see my messy sewing, but it doesn't really matter because we're going to be covering it up by sewing in our signatures. So again, just using that guide and then poking our holes through the center of the signature. And I used my clips to make sure that none of the pages were moving around. I want to keep everything nice and straight. And then just lining everything up, I went ahead and did a pamphlet stitch using this sort of golden colored thread and a pretty sizable needle. Just going through the back, through the center hole, and then down through the bottom, and back up through the top, and then finishing through the middle. And then just taking those 2 strings either end on either side of the stitch we made, and pulling everything tight and tying it off. I went ahead and tied about 3 knots and then cut off the remaining string, just like that. And then I went ahead and did the same with the other 2 signatures, and this is what it looks like when it is finished. Alright, next grabbing that 2-inch piece of cardboard, just making sure that our covers are even as we fold them around either side. And then gluing that down with a little bit of Fabri-Tac and brushing it off so it's not too thick or goopy or anything like that. And then when it came to gluing down the sort of signature base, I went ahead and asked my mother if she would help me hold it. It helps to have another pair of hands. If you don't, it's okay. I just didn't want the fabric really pulling too tight on the covers, so I just felt like it would be easier to have somebody help me so I can keep everything flat. The clips help as well, so I went ahead and just did the second part by myself. Adding glue to the cover and also to the spine. Again, brushing everything out. Pressing everything down, especially right in that center spine piece. I just wanted to make sure that everything was held really tight. Gluing down all of those edges. I didn't want anything accidentally, popping off the page or anything like that. And while it dries, we're going to go ahead and take a look at our My Porch picks for this month. We had a lot of really beautiful submissions again, and if any of you want to have your work showcased in one of our videos, make sure that you go to our Facebook page and join our Facebook crafting group and submit your images with the hashtag MyPorchPics, and we will go ahead and feature those in our next video. Alright, jumping back in here, I decided to go ahead and add a little bit of lace to this sort of inner corner here, just to add a little more decoration to it. And then I'll also be adding one of these Shabby library cards, and they also come with the pocket. I accidentally cut the bottom part of mine off, but I'm just going to go ahead and glue it down. Anyway, it should still work just fine. And then for the card, I'm going to be taking these little letter stamps and stamping one of Jane Austen's books onto it, just like that, and adding a few small ephemera cards and tags. All of this from the Jane Austen kit. And then this page was looking a little, I don't know, small and sad to me, so I decided I was going to add another lace border to it, just to kind of bulk it up and make everything feel a little more even. And then for further decorating, I'm going to be grabbing these little page tabs and adding a couple of words from various kits. Some of these are from the Jane Austen kit, some of these are from the Grandma's Garden kit. And then just adding a little bit of distress ink to them and then gluing them to the tops of various pages. And next I'll be taking some eye pins and some bulb pins and some of these leftover beads and jewels and charms that I had from other projects, and I'm just going to be adding those to the pages like so. Next, we're going to go ahead and move on to decorating the cover. And for that, I'm going to be taking one of the ephemera pieces from the Jane Austen kit and going over it with some Victorian velvet distress ink and some pearl strings. And I'm also taking some of these hardware pieces, as well as this, I think it's a lace applique or crochet lace. It was given to us a long time ago by somebody in one of our journal swaps, so we're not entirely sure where it comes from, unfortunately. But if you look up lace appliques, you should be able to find something similar. And then for the book plate going on the spine, I didn't have any that was the same color as my other hardware, so I went ahead and mixed some gold and brown and bronze and black paint until I got a color that was similar, and then just sort of gently sponged it on layer by layer. And then for this book plate, I went ahead and reprinted off that ephemera page and cut out the Jane Austen sort of label from the picture that we are using on the cover, and I'll be using that to finish the nameplate. Cutting away all the extra, and I was pretty lucky. This barely fit, but it does fit, so I was able to use it, and that made me really happy. Adding a couple brads here to finish off the hardware piece, and there you go. Alright, and setting all of that aside, I went ahead and grabbed one of those library card scraps, and I'm going to be cutting out the little roses that are on it, and I'll be using those for my cabochons that are going on the front and back of the journal. Just cutting everything out and gluing it down. And then setting those aside to dry, I'm going to grab some of this sort of delicate like off-white lace and glue that along the edge of the cover. And then taking some bookplate hardware, gluing those around the corners of the Jane Austen photo, and gluing down those little lace appliques. And adding some more of those corners in a larger decorative size to the cover. Gluing down the cabochon here, as well as the clasp. Measuring out some pink lace for the clasp itself to close the book with. Just using some brads to secure it straight through the lace. Really simple. No glue necessary. And then I went ahead and super glued one of the cabochons onto a Tim Holtz Ideology Findings ornate plate. Unfortunately, they seem to be low in stock right now, so you'll have to do a little bit of legwork and see which stores still carry them, or maybe just search online for ornate book plate or label plate and see if something similar comes up that you can use. Again, taking some of that pink lace and gluing it down along the spine, as well as some of that delicate off-white lace in a smaller size. And I went ahead and cut 4 pieces of them, and using my book plate as sort of like a centering point, just kind of eyeballed where I wanted them to go and glued them down along the spine as well, cutting off any extra. And there you go, that is the spine finished. Next, I went ahead and hooked my clasp on so I could make sure everything was the right length. And then cutting off the extra, I went ahead and glued it down on the back. Adding a little bit of that off-white lace to sort of cover up where there was a space left, and finishing it up with that little decorative plate on the back. Alright, so that is going to complete our Jane Austen series. Thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you in the next video. Bye!